5 News at noon starts now.
A piece of land that could be the site of a new junior high will be the topic of discussion again today. Residents against disturbing the property and leaders trying to get a school built are weighing in. And it's Giving Tuesday. Ahead, how you can join others right here in our local communities to give back to those in need. Thank you for joining us for your 5 News at noon. I'm Morgan Wrigley here with Joshua Weisel. I heard you say a few minutes ago it's feeling better out there. I don't believe you yet because this morning it still felt really cold, but sounds like it might be warming up by now.
Oh yeah, and the good news is it's going to be a little bit warmer by the time we get to the mid-afternoon. It's going to be certainly better in the last couple of days when we were topping off into the mid to lower 30s. That was not necessarily fun. It was seasonable, or at least I felt more like the Christmas season, but it's not technically around our average time for this year, so it was pretty cold out there. Still a little bit chilly, so, hear me when I say this. It's going to be warmer, but it's not going to be so warm that you don't need a jacket today. It's going to be in the 30s and 40s, at least for the next couple of hours. We'll top off into the 40s. The good news is no feels-like temperatures, no gusty winds. It's just 39 and sunny at this time for both Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. And we're going to continue to warm up throughout the rest of the afternoon. Here's a look at some of those temperatures. And good news is starting to get into those lower 40s in portions of the area, especially along and south of I-40. It's a little bit chillier in some portions of Northwest Arkansas at this time, but it's going to just continue to get warmer throughout the afternoon. And then the good news is as we head into the overnight, it's going to be cold, but it's not going to be that level of cold during the afternoon. So if you got any sort of plans today, just wear, some layers today. But in the sunshine, it will feel pretty good out there, especially because we don't really have a wind factor out there. So keeping these clear skies, it's going to be beautiful and calm the rest of the day today. And then coming up, I'll be talking about it'll be a little bit chilly as we head into around Thursday, maybe some winter precipitation once again. Nothing significant, but I'll have those details to let you know about. And we're keeping that nice and steady warm trend by the time we get to the weekend. Details coming up.
Thank you, Joshua. Wintry conditions caused the departure of 100 Army National Guardsmen Monday afternoon to be delayed to this morning. About 100 Arkansas Army National Guard now off to Washington, D.C. Governor Sanders says this mission will support law enforcement there.
When the Department of War called up the 142nd last month, this mission was primarily about restoring order and safety to our nation's capital.
The Guardsmen have spent the last several weeks completing administrative processing. The deployment is expected to last for several months. Well, a fire destroyed a home in the Van Buren area this morning. Crawford County Sheriff Daniel Perry says no one was hurt, and the fire is now contained, but the house is a total loss. No word yet on what sparked that fire. The trial of an 18-year-old accused of killing a teen in Rogers was supposed to start today, but it has been delayed. Alejandro Zenon Reyes' trial has now been pushed back to February 24th. According to prosecutors, Zenon Reyes, who was 14 at the time, is accused of shooting and killing 17-year-old Alexis Wynn in April 2022. He fled to Mexico after the shooting, but was captured in January of this year. He's charged with manslaughter and evidence tampering, and he has pleaded not guilty. Well, from a rezoning request for a new junior high to tighter rules on short-term rentals, the Fayetteville City Council is preparing for a busy night. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi breaks it all down.
One thing we know about Fayetteville City Councils is that they can go for hours, and this one is expected to be no different as the members hear both a rezoning request for a potential new Ramey Junior High School in the city, as well as changes to the short-term rental ordinance. It's property the district has already purchased, and it's considered the top site for the campus. Superintendent Dr. John Mulford says the site is a strategic move to keep schools close to families, balanced across the district, and aligned with Fayetteville's plans for smart, connected growth. Some groups, like the Fayetteville Natural Heritage Association, say they are against the rezoning request, not just because of tree preservation, but call the site too costly and too risky to build on. They point to the steep hillside, erosion concerns, and heavy traffic near existing schools. Dr. John Mulford says they've taken these concerns seriously, but add that the site is what's best for the district when looking towards the future.
Our board has been very thoughtful in where they place the schools to where it not only meets our current needs, but we expect it will meet the needs for the future.
Also tonight, the Fayetteville City Council will vote on a new ordinance that would permanently legalize and regulate short-term rentals, replacing the temporary rules in place since 2021. The proposal would repeal 6 earlier ordinances and establish updated definitions, zoning standards, and permit requirements for Airbnb-style properties. It also caps non-owner occupied Type 2 rentals at 475 units citywide and requires conditional use permits to limit overconcentration in neighborhoods, which supporters say will damage neighborhood character. If approved, the ordinance would take effect immediately to prevent any gap in the city's short-term rental regulations. As we've seen at previous meetings, City Council members can choose to table these agenda items or simply not take any action and leave them for the next meeting. Tonight's meeting starts at 5:30 in Fayetteville. Covering news where you live, Jacob Luthi, 5 News.
Thank you, Jacob. Today is Giving Tuesday, a global day dedicated to supporting nonprofits doing impactful work in our communities. The movement encourages communities to give back to those organizations. They're encouraging people to give in whatever way they can, with leaders saying even small contributions can make a big difference as the holiday season continues.
Those needs just continue to arise, and this time of year, having that additional dollars influx our community through the generous gifts of individuals that are looking at ways to give is really, again, it's vital to these organizations.
Last year alone, people in the U.S. gave more than $3.5 billion total. Well, this Giving Tuesday, join Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert and 5 News in helping spread warmth this holiday season through the Coats for Christmas drive. We're collecting warm coats to benefit the Salvation Army of the River Valley and Northwest Arkansas. The drop-off sites are at Mathis Brothers Sleep Store in Fort Smith, both Ashley Furniture Stores in Fort Smith and Rogers, and Lazy Boy in Springdale. Well, more than 700 people packed into Crystal Bridges Museum for a conversation with former President Barack Obama. It's part of the new Building Bridges lecture series, celebrating the American spirit of meeting in the middle. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer was there and shares how the 44th president says civic engagement and young people are the keys to America's future.
It's good to see you.
Former President Barack Obama walked on stage in Bentonville to a warm and loud Arkansas welcome.
But you didn't tell me it gets this cold in Arkansas.
When asked what the American spirit means to him, the former president says it starts with the belief that everyone has power.
Your fate is not predetermined by caste or, whether your folks are important. It's just you can make something. That individualism combined with this sense of, and together we can do some things.
And he says every generation plays a role in reinventing that spirit.
There's a process of self-invention that is uniquely American, that you just don't see in other places. That sense of each generation deciding, you know what, that doesn't look right to me. I think we can make it a little bit better.
On patriotism, Obama says loving your country means being honest about it, even when it's hard.
Both the left and the right sometimes got confused in thinking that it was not possible to take an honest look at America's flaws and be critical of it and still love it. And that's a mistake.
He also warned that the country is facing real political strain.
I think it is true that we are more divided and that our democracy is more unstable than any time in my lifetime.
Still, he says change is possible.
I don't think you can just fix it by fixing political rules or electing, one party over another. That's not going to solve the entire problem. I think we have to change some of the civic habits.
For many in the crowd, the timing of his message couldn't have felt more important.
Excited to hear him talk and, maybe even, some words of encouragement for, what's going on in the world.
And when asked what gives him hope, Obama didn't hesitate. Young people.
I am hopeful as long as young people don't succumb to cynicism or despair.
In Bentonville, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Today on 5 News Plus, we'll be showing a full replay of the former president's speech. That will air at 2:30 this afternoon and 6:30 this evening. For information on how to download 5 News Plus to your TV and watch this for free, just text the word plus to the number there on your screen, 479-785-5000. The Trump administration has changed its stance on whether a second strike on an alleged Venezuelan drug boat actually took place back in September. The White House admits it did happen, but says it was a legal order. A bipartisan group of lawmakers is not so sure and has lots of questions for the administration. Olivia Rinaldi has more details from the White House.
The White House now says a second strike on an alleged Venezuelan drug boat did happen, but it wasn't Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth who gave that order. It came from U.S. Navy Admiral Frank Bradley.
Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated.
The acknowledgement of a second strike comes one day after President Trump denied it happened.
I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal, it was fine, and if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
The House Armed Services Committee plans to interview Admiral Bradley this week with questions about the legality of the strike.
The rules of war, international law, American law, and the rules of the Department of Defense forbid attacking essentially helpless people who are just desperate and struggling to survive. They were of no military threat to anyone.
President Trump spoke with Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro last week, but the White House has released few details about the contents of the call. The Miami Herald reports that Maduro told Trump he was willing to leave the country in exchange for legal amnesty. Trump reportedly rejected that offer and instead gave Maduro 1 week to resign and leave the country. Olivia Rinaldi, CBS News, the White House.